Alright everyone, we start off today talking about the sixth part, of course, of the Twitter files. Rather important. This one is the coup de grace, according to Elon Musk. I don't know if there will be further releases, or if this is the last one. I'm hoping that there are more, because, I mean, it's some juicy fucking material. This one definitely is more important than some of the others. This one shows the more direct collusion between the FBI treating Twitter as, in their words, a subsidiary, and the moderation staff. Yoel Roth, of course, over 150 individual emails back and forth between him and FBI agents. Yes, the government did not use taxpayer funds, what do you think pays the FBI agent's salary, to defame and disparage U.S. citizens' Twitter accounts for political purposes. No, there's nothing to see here, everyone. The legacy media, meanwhile, is completely ignoring that to fixate on the banning of several journalists for doxing on the site. None of them mentioning that none of them said jack shit in defense of the New York Post when that was banned several years ago. Or the Gateway Pundit being blocked. Or news material on BitChute being effectively screened if you send it in DMs. Or briefly banned for about a month before that. Nobody's talking about those things. Or Project Veritas / James O'Keefe. What were they banned for? I don't fucking know. Nobody seems to care about that. I should probably make my particular opinion known with regards to the legacy media / doxing of Elon Musk's flight tracker thing first. I don't have a problem with the legacy media sleazebags going back on Twitter. Musk has restored their accounts. You had Keith Olbermann. He's, irrelevant at this point anyway. He basically is like a richer Jeff Tiedrich, so that's fine. Matt Binder's back on there. His career is basically a handful of Mashable articles and shitposting on Twitter anyway, so it's a lot to do about nothing. I would tell Elon Musk, of course, they're not going to give you any props for this, for restoring their accounts. They will deliberately attempt to break TOS in order to get banned, because their whole goal is to try to denigrate Twitter now that it's less censored towards independent voices. They're worried about that. They don't want to have to compete with people like me. And the fact that you've unshadow banned and outright unsuspended thousands of people at this point is why they're bitching about it. There is no way to appease them other than becoming more and more censored, as the rest of the mainline internet is tending to do, thereby eventually destroying these sites entirely by making them non-functional. Anyway, with regards to everything other than the legacy media's stark hypocrisy on the question of censorship, all of a sudden they really support free expression. It's really, really bad when you ban journos, as long as they're the deep state unipartyist type. The FBI collusion that we're seeing here is especially troublesome when you consider one thing that isn't being mentioned enough, which is that Twitter was overrun with child porn for an extended period of time, did nothing about it, is being sued in multiple cases for not doing anything. The FBI was in direct coordination with Trust and Safety's heads at Twitter, among other individuals. They had dozens and dozens of FBI agents specifically dedicated towards looking for content, not just on Twitter but elsewhere, as part of their team to combat disinfo. Apparently, the child exploitation side was not prioritized. Can I please ask a rhetorical question, even of liberals, the non-perverted ones, minority as you may be within liberal movements? Do you have any slight problem, even a slight one, with the concept that U.S. law enforcement against taxpayer-funded effectively ignored the issue of children being trafficked on the internet in order to fixate on memes? Do you have any problem with that at all? Let alone, my First Amendment doesn't have to do with Twitter. It's a private site. It can do what it wants. And all of the other cope and gaslighting and straw manning that I'm seeing right now. Does it bring about at least a little bit of an ethical dilemma? Do you have a moral problem with how this was conducted? I know that I do. Of course, I have a constitutional issue with it too. Taxpayer money should not be used to defame U.S. citizens. In some of these cases, if you look through, link in the description, it's a multi-thread here on Twitter by Matt Taibbi. If you look through it, it's remarkable, actually, and also the response is remarkable. Well, we already knew this. Well, it's nothing. It's a private company. The FBI, the Republicans hate the FBI now. They hate law enforcement. They want narco cartels to prosper in the world. What are you goddamn smoking? We're talking about the fact that the government was effectively sending reams of accounts. You read some of these emails to Twitter and saying, well, this might be problematic, please take action. Effectively, hey, we've got a lot of guns and prosecutorial power that we were never really supposed to have. We were meant to be a temporary federal agency, but, mission creep is a thing within big government. It's one of the main problems with having a neoliberal system. And so we've got all the power and we can make your life a living hell. Here are accounts that we want punished. Why? In some cases, they're clearly parody accounts. I like how Taibbi here, he tries to give an example of one of the accounts being left-leaning, but it's a parody of leftoids. It's still a right-wing account. You look down through the list, virtually all of the people that were targeted by U.S. taxpayer-funded bureaus for deletion or for punishment in coordination with this supposedly private company, which isn't even what Twitter was when it was fully publicly traded anyway prior to Musk taking over, even not fully now. Virtually all of them are one of three things. They are conservatives, they are parody accounts that lean into the political, or they are libertarian in nature. So pro-free speech. I guess it's free speech if you oppose people who are pro-free speech. Meanwhile, if you actually hold journos to the same accountability standards that literally everyone on the site was being held to for years, all hell breaks loose, Twitter is dying, hashtag Elon is over. The hypocrisy, the irony, the unconstitutional methodology that was employed are all quite stark, which is why the legacy media will choose to ignore this in favor of Elon man bad. It's funny, he's the one African-American immigrant that they feel that they're allowed to criticize and they can get away with it. Could it have to do with his skin tone? Probably. But Twitter Files Part 6 is a major one. I would go through it if I were you. I mean, again, I can do the too long didn't read version, but it's less posts than the last few releases, so it's more easily digestible. Long story short, the FBI was effectively coercing Twitter into downing accounts or blocking tweets for no legal purpose, for no legitimate purpose whatsoever, many of which were parody accounts. A parody account mocking the far left by pretending to be a leftoid was subject to banning under Twitter's guidelines under its former leadership. Well, definitely it's a coup de grace when you think about it. The FBI should be disbanded. To be clear, people simping for it don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Sometimes that even includes Musk. Well, I generally like the FBI, but in this case they done goofed. No. The FBI was meant to be a temporary bureau way back in the day to deal with bootlegging and things like that. It was never meant to be a permanent solution to any law enforcement problem. Look at the Boston Marathon and every other time that they've fucked up. The FBI doesn't go after narcos, they partner with narcos. Sometimes middleman through the CIA. They're worthless. There's no point to them even existing. They're not doing their job. They're ignoring actual illegal material in order to fixate on mean tweets. Quite literally, mean tweets and parody. It's a breach of the concept of free expression at its core. It's arguably unconstitutional since it's a taxpayer-funded federal bureau working hand-in-hand coercing a company in order to try to screw U.S. users. Yeah, if anything could be construed as violating the First and possibly Fourth Amendments, certainly this would take the cake now, wouldn't it? That's about all. Peace out.